Welcome back to the channel, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Day, November 2025. This is a 2016 ultrasonic blue mica 8X1 with LA10 interior, VIN 0252. So VIN 252. This is the 65th in production order for production cars, not including pre-production cars, 65th car that's produced for the US 49 market. For sale on Auto Trader at a dealer in Oregon with 70,000 miles for $46,000. It's a California and Oregon car, its whole life, mostly Oregon. And so we'll go ahead and dive into it and see what we find out. Production statistics. 269 out of the 2,348 cars produced for the US 49 were 8X1 ultrasonic blue mica. Of those 269, there's only 71 that had Stratus Gray interior. Stratus Gray is a 2016-2017 only option that was offered for the interior on these cars. That's 3.02% of all of the US production for the US 49 had this combo, so it's an 8 out of 10 for rarity. You're not gonna see a lot of the Stratus Gray cars come up for sale. Specific for 2016 though, 177 out of the 1,417 cars that I've identified for 2016 were ultrasonic blue. 67 had LA10 Stratus Gray interior. So pretty rare, but most of the Stratus Gray cars are 2016 since that's where the bulk of the production was. Carfax, Epic VIN, and AutoCheck. So Carfax shows this as a 4-owner, 1-accident car. And it looks like that it was a minor accident in July of 2019. So it happened quite a long time ago. Epic VIN shows this as a 3-owner, no accident car, and AutoCheck shows this as a 3-owner, no accident car. But I think I'm going to agree with Carfax on this one, that this car is a 4-owner, 1-accident car. Previous sales. So this car, it was originally a corporate owned car. It says that on the Carfax. It says it's a manufacturer vehicle. It was originally delivered to TMS, and so to Toyota. And it was a ride and drive event car. And then after that, they just used it, employees drove it, something like that. But a ride and drive, think of like parking lot autocross. And so some of the days they had only the media that were allowed to go and test them and drive them, and Lexus educates them about the cars. That's what this car was originally used for. And as far as for how long, I don't know, but you know, it was at least used that for a few events is what it looks like. I've recently done one of these with Jaguar Land Rover, and I say recently, a couple years ago before they went crazy. You know, you basically get to drive the car as you wish. You can drive it hard, you get to drive it through an autocross, you know, for like 30 seconds at a time. So it's probably had several hundred butts in the seat, you know, not surprising there, but it wasn't a Lexus driving school car from what I can tell. It was an event car, it went around to events, it was shown off, maybe auto shows. I don't think it was an auto show, but you know, it's the first 3 or so years and 22,000 miles of this car were owned by Lexus. So the next sale was certified pre-owned in August of 2018, which is after Lexus owned it. So Lexus did register and title it as the first owner. Some of these cars they never title. This one was sold as certified pre-owned August of 2018 for $61,000 with 22,500 miles. And it looks like they eventually dropped the price to $57,000, and I don't know what it actually sold for. And then it was for sale at the same dealer, Lexus of Portland, December of 2023, $49,000 with 48,000 miles. And now here, Thanksgiving Day 2025, the end of November, $46,000 with 70,000 miles at a dealer in Salem, Oregon. So as far as price goes, this price is probably spot on for where the market is right now in these cars. You know, I would put the exceptionally clean, if it had like 50,000 miles, probably the $48,000 to $52,000 range. And so this car being at 46,000 with its kind of mileage, it's pretty much where I would expect to see it for the market. So now onto the photos. First and foremost, kudos to this dealer for providing high quality, fantastic pictures, showing all of the carbon fiber all around the car, very good interior photos, exterior photos. If you're on the desktop version of Auto Trader, you click on the photos, you can actually see the full resolution photos. On the mobile, it doesn't show the full res, but very good photos. This is how it's done. So other dealers take note. Fantastic photos on this car. So the things that I noticed just looking at the car without looking at the service history, it looks like it needs front brakes. You can see a pretty good lip on the side of the front rotors on the inside and the outside there. And also the obvious is it needs a new steering wheel, or it needs the steering wheel refinished. Pretty common with these cars as they age, the steering wheel leather doesn't seem to hold up. And I think that's a Toyota thing in general, because we have a 2018 Land Cruiser and it's the same issue. The leather just starts flaking off and then it just keeps going. And so no surprises there, but I don't see anything else. The carbon fiber looks fantastic. The interior, the exterior, I don't see any bolster wear, no excessive paint chips on the front. Really, I don't see any issues just looking at the photos. Service history. This car was pretty well dealer serviced until about 2023, and then it looks like it was continued at a third-party mechanic or oil change places like that after 2023. So it's still well maintained, but we'll go ahead and go through the dealer service history, and then I'll jump into the independent service history that's available at least on Carfax and AutoCheck. So the first entry of note is April of 2016, and so Lexus has owned this since the end of 2015. April of 2016, 2,000 miles, they were preparing it for the ride and drive event. So I don't know if it was just one event, how many events, but at 2,000 miles, it was at least used for that. And those are typically over a weekend, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. So probably had a few hundred people in it, at least for one event. August of 2016, don't know if you guys can see this, come here. I have a dog that's sitting here annoying the crap out of me. All right, August of 2016, right side lower body and undercarriage damage. I'm pretty sure somebody got into some cones or something, if that's what the case was, but it looks like they repaired or replaced and repainted the lower right rocker piece. And that's just a piece of plastic that comes off and is easily replaceable. In that same service, they noted that the front bumper was pretty scratched up as well, but they did not do anything about it. So other than that, just kind of oil changes for a while. The next thing to note is August of 2018. So that's 2 years later, certified pre-owned prep. The JLB fuel pumps were done. That's the JLB recall. High pressure fuel pumps were replaced. There were dents reported on the trunk lid, and also to repair the hood, the left rear door, and the left rear quarter panel. So I don't know if that just means buffing, painting, or something otherwise. It doesn't really say what was done there. And at that same service, front brakes and 4 new tires. So now the car's sold to its first retail owner, but it's really the second owner on paper. They noted in March of 2019, transmission was rough shifting and they couldn't duplicate it. The tech just said that's how the GSFs are. And if they're in sport mode or driving it aggressively, yes, it shifts rough, it shifts firm is really the correct word, but that's kind of how these transmissions are. And if it's not warmed up, even more so. The complaint in the service history on that same service was paint chips appeared all over the hood once they washed it for the first time. And so that, of course, is if they are using some kind of glaze or filler that the dealerships like to use. Once it makes it look great on the showroom floor, and then once you wash it, that all goes away. That could be what's going on here. But the dealer paid to replace the hood. And so they didn't repaint it, it says replace the hood. So I guess this car has a new hood as well. December of 2019, 32,000 miles, front and rear brakes were done. February of 2020, 33,000 miles. All of the carbon fiber trim on the front appears like it was replaced. It says front and rear door panels, dash, and center console. So I think that's all 5 of the common issue pieces. That's probably why now in the photos, the carbon fiber looks fantastic, because it's been replaced. 2020, I don't think it was replaced with any of the updated parts, so it's probably still subject to delamination, but for right now, it looks fantastic. May of 2022 at 40,000 miles, the 60,000 mile service. So that's brake fluid, spark plugs, all the other fluids other than transmission and differential. It looks like it was done there early. So I would say that the fact that the spark plugs were done at 40,000, now you're gonna have to get them done at 100,000 for the next 60,000 mile service. It was done a little early. You know, there is a reason they have it on schedule, but you know, I did this car at 50,000, so, you know, kind of in the same boat there. December of 2023, which is the last service at the Lexus dealer, 48,000 miles. It was pretty much a used car prep, but you can't do it as a certified pre-owned because it's out of age at that point. They noted that the front pads were at 6 millimeters, the rear pads were at 7 millimeters, and it needs 4 tires, and there were chips and scratches that were repaired during that prep as well. So 48,000 miles. It has another 20 or so thousand miles on it now. I would say the brakes definitely need to be replaced. As you can see in the photos that I talked about, this car needs brakes. Probably had tires since then, but I would of course look at the tires too. Continuing on what I can see on the Carfax and the auto check, in June of 24 at 54,000 miles, it was an oil change in an instant oil change place. The same place in November of 2024 at 59,000, oil change and the differential was serviced. So hopefully the TVD units were serviced as well, but that's not as important as getting the actual differential oil, the gear oil changed. May of 2025, 64,000 miles, oil change. November of 2025 at 69,000 and some change, oil change and wipers. And November 25th of 2025, so just 2 days ago, today's the 27th, the vehicle was serviced by the current selling dealer. So I don't know what that exactly means, but it's had an oil change. The differential's been serviced, the 60,000 mile service has been done. I would just plan on doing brakes on this car, look at the tires. So what is not done on this car? Transmission service would be the big one. Brakes, of course, and I would inspect the tires. Look at the front inner tires for excessive tire wear. If you see excessive tire wear on the inside of the front tires, it's gonna need front lower control arm bushings. So front lower control arm bushings, 2 tires, and an alignment. So that can get kind of spendy. I don't see anywhere where the valley plate has been done. So do a pre-purchase mechanical inspection on this car and inspect the valley plate. Would not be surprised to see if it was leaking. I don't see where the ZLZ customer service program has been done on this car. 10 years from the in-service date covers cracking, sticky, delaminating dash, and Lexus will cover that free of charge. This car's in-service date was December of 2015, so it's almost at the end of that life for coverage. So if you look at this car and it's got even the slightest of stickiness to the dash, take it to your Lexus dealer and get it inspected right away to get it replaced. Otherwise, that can be a couple $1,000s to get done if it's sticky later on. So if you go to do a pre-purchase inspection and have the valley plate inspected, fully expect that it's going to be leaking. So put a couple $1,000s aside to get that done. My blue GSF was just at the dealer and I got a quote for the valley plate replacement there and it was like $2,300. And so just to know what it cost at the dealer, it's an expensive service. I don't see anything about the HVAC servo sweep. So that is, make sure the car's fully warmed up, set one side to max cold, one side to max hot, and then cycle through the defrost, the head, the feet, the rear, and switch, and make sure everything responds. Usually what happens when it goes from cold to hot, the servos get stuck in the cold setting, and so basically it just, you try to get max hot and the vent is still has cold air coming out. So that is something I would look at this car too, because I don't see the servo sweep being done. The programming will resolve most of those, however, the servos still do fail. Finally, would I buy this car? I think I would at this price, but if you get a cheaper bonus, you have to go into this knowing that you're going to have to do brakes, valley plate, maybe tires, but transmission service, those are the big things, but the rest of it, it's pretty well sorted. It's got the 60,000 mile service done, which is the big one, and it's got all of the carbon fiber that's been recently, well, I wouldn't say recently, 5 years ago, the carbon fiber was replaced. So I would say, closer to 45, and if you can get it for less, great. But yeah, I don't see any red flags on this. It sounds to me like the car doesn't have paint protection film on the front, so I would expect to see chips. It has a new hood, it has a new rocker panel on the right side, and it's had some other touch-ups over the years. Not to, that doesn't bother me on a car like this. This would be a car that I wouldn't be afraid to just get in and go drive, but just put some money aside for the valley plate and the brakes and transmission, that transmission service. That's about the only concerns I have with this one. So I would definitely go check it out. It doesn't look like it's been too terribly winter driven. Obviously look underneath and make sure it's not too rusty. Oregon does get winters. There's a lot of mountains and snow and things like that there, but I think that it definitely has potential to be a good one that's worth going and checking out. So anyway, that is what I've got for you. VIN 252, and go check it out, guys. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon.